but it wasn't coming in the house yet. Right before 11, started coming in through the vents. So I just moved my dogs and me to my bed because that was the heaviest, highest point, and we were just gonna ride it out on the bed. Well, then 11 o'clock happened, and it had already stopped raining. It had been stopped raining for, I don't know, an hour, but the water was just rising up my window. And the bedroom door shut, and I knew that I had to get the bedroom door open because I couldn't stay in that bedroom. I stepped down off the bed and I was in waist-high water. I basically went out that bedroom door with the nightstand, turned around, and the water was at my shoulders. I had enough time to tell my dogs I loved them because I knew that I was never going to see them again. And the water was so high that I was actually swimming in the house, and I couldn't go in my living room because the furniture was moving around inside of the living room. So I was just kind of hanging on to the door frame of my hallway with my head peeked up into the peak of my ceiling in the living room because that was the highest point. I thought I had enough time to take 2 breaths, but I didn't. The last one was nothing but water, and stuff was just hitting the house, and I could feel the house jolting, and then it broke loose. And I'm in the house, and it's going down the river, and then a few minutes later, it was this explosion, like the loudest bomb going off that I've ever heard, and I'm in the river. And I kind of panicked because I'm in the river, because my house, where's my house? And I'm like, I can't do anything. All this stuff is hitting me. And somehow I made it from where the water was rolling in the river where it was supposed to be to I'm in the wood line. And I was able to grab a hold of a couple of trees, just little saplings. The first one I got took out immediately. Something hit me so hard in my left hip that I thought that it had shattered my hip, and my pelvis was fractured and my back was just broken. And I'm like, oh my God, and then I grabbed a hold of another tree, and I'm like, okay, I can still move my toes, I'm okay. And I'm like, I can't turn my back to what's coming at me anymore. So I'm watching all this stuff, these trees and this debris coming down, and I feel the roots go from underneath me. And I'm like, I didn't look to see if there was another tree for me to grab a hold of. And I went a long way and was able to grab a hold of another tree. And I had a hold of this tree, and it wasn't a big tree, but it was still, I'm like, it's gonna give. And I'm there and I'm holding on, and I'm like, I can't hold on anymore because so much stuff was just pelting me. It was just hitting me. And this huge tree, as big as a car, falls. And it lands right beside of me, and it didn't hit me. And I'm like, okay, the wave just about knocked me out, but I'm still here and it's okay. And I'm like, the stuff's not hitting me anymore. And that tree's not moving. Like the roots were just stuck in the ground still, and the tree's not moving, but it's stopping all of that stuff from hitting me. And I'm like, okay, I can hang on for a little bit longer. And I don't know how long I'd been there. And I had just gotten so tired. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just gonna let go. There's nothing else for me to grab a hold of behind me. It's just a rock wall. It'll be fast. Nobody will ever, it'll be fast. And something said you can't let go. And I'm like, but I'm just too tired. And about that time I turned and I looked to my right, and I could see the tops of ragweed. And I'm like, okay, there's ground right there. I'm gonna hang on long enough till I can get to that ground. And the water just kept going down, and I felt the tree give, and I was like, oh my God, the roots are gonna go. So I tried to step down out of the tree, and I realized that the water's still too deep and it's moving too fast. But then I realized that what I'm actually standing on is a laurel bush that had been wrapped around the tree. And I just kept waiting. The water went from here and it just kept creeping down and it kept creeping down and it just kept creeping down. And finally, a pine tree was about to fall, and I knew if the pine tree in front of me was going to fall, then that, because of the big oak that saved all of the stuff from hitting me, came down, that was it. So when I stepped down, I stepped on the ground. And I was in waist deep water, and I made the 4 steps to get to where the dirt was. And I tried walking a straight line back here, but the water was still too deep and too rough. So I had to go up the mountain and then come this way. And my heart was really low. I was no longer shivering. I knew my brain was, I was in hypothermia and I couldn't stop. And all I had on was my t-shirt and my bra because I had lost my shorts pretty quickly in the river. And I was so tired, and I was just, my brain said, you can't stop, you can't stop. And I finally made it to my brother's house over here. And I was able to knock on the door and nobody answered, and I knocked again, and my nephew came out and he just collapsed when he saw me because they watched the house float away, and it had been hours. It had been hours. But I survived. I had a nasty cut. I finally got across the river. It was not safe to have anybody come and try to save me that Saturday, that Friday, because the water was too rough, and I would have never put anybody in danger trying to get to save me. So we waited until Saturday, and I could feel the infection. I could feel the infection in my body slowly working its way, and I was like, today I have to get across the river. So the Swiftwater team came and got me, and I made it to the hospital about 30 hours later. I received fluids and antibiotics, but I needed a hand surgeon, which there was not one available. And I didn't get to see a hand surgeon until 5 days later. So I'm lucky to have my hand. I do have nerve damage. My finger it's permanently, the nerve was severed, but I will have full movement of my hand. But I'm very fortunate to be alive, and I'm very fortunate that I still have my hand. That's pretty much it.